Got it.
Fantastic. Well, hello and welcome. I am Andrea Wilson with Bridging the Gap, and I am here with Alison Whitwood, participant from the Spring 2022 Blueprint Program. Welcome, Alison. So good to see you. I'm excited to have you here. I have some questions. We want to hear about you. It was a great time with you, so I'd like to get into a little bit of detail about your experience. So before we get into that, I'd like to know about where you were, where you started before the Blueprint Program.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. So yeah, I'm Alison. I live in Sydney, Australia, and I've been in IT for forever, for 30 years or so in my IT career. And it started off, a lot of years was technical. And then I noticed in the last kind of 10, 15 years or so, I noticed that really, for me, I didn't want to go down the full-on techie jobs, and they seemed a little bit kind of boring. I think I was just expanding myself as a person, and just was more interested in people and what they wanted, and just having those conversations. And also the technology that I was working with, that I was an expert in, was dying. Nobody was using it anymore, and I needed something different. And I didn't want to relearn something more. Again, another technique. I didn't want to go down another technical avenue. So I kind of realized that being a business analyst, and a technical business analyst in particular, was something I kind of wanted to do. And I ended up actually getting a job with that title without really knowing what I was doing. I got offered, a contract had come to an end, and I'd been working with partners, and they asked if I wanted to come and work with them. Oh, yeah, actually I do. So my job career was usually one job somehow led to another job, which somehow led to another job. I haven't had an interview for a long time. So this job ended up being they said, what do you want? What do you want as your job title? I don't know, technical business analyst, actually. And that's what it was, but I don't know if I was actually doing it. So what I ended up doing was some technical support, but a lot of talking to the clients that we had to find out what their problems were, what their pain points were, what they were trying to achieve. And then either bringing it back to our technical lead, or if I could, do the technical stuff myself. So I felt like I was the bit in the middle, that if it was too technical, we get what I call Techie Steve, our technical lead, involved. If I could do it myself, I would, but it was more like, hey, what are you trying to do? And what would that give you? And, you know, how would that help your business? Those kind of questions. And that kind of became what I really fancied doing, what I was really enjoying. And then I got made redundant, got retrenched, whatever that's called. And again, I jumped from where I'd been to working with the people I'd been working with in the previous, like external people that I'd had in that previous job. So I said, look, sorry, I can't continue your project. I've just been made redundant. And they said, oh, well, that's their loss. Do you want to come and work for us? So yeah, so that's what I did. So that was about a year ago. I've just had a contract extended again for another year in that organization. So that's where I am. So what I am now, a technical business analyst, and it's quite varied. It's quite a varied job. It's for a mining company in Western Australia. So I'm working remotely. So I'm in Sydney, which is on the east side of Australia. The rest of the company is in Western Australia, in Perth, right at the other side of the country, a few thousand miles away. And they're 2 hours behind. So yeah, it's my working day is just a little bit further on than theirs. I work kind of 9:30 till 6:30. And it's a whole mixture. It's discovery. It's, you know, listen, go and find out how these guys use data, what their pain points are, where's the data, how do they use applications, go away and give us a PowerPoint presentation. So I've done that. I'm working on that at the moment. Or it might be, put together some approvals matrix for a backup policy. Oh, okay, so no idea how to do that. So I have to go and talk to some people, find out what's involved in that. So it's varied. It's varied. And the other part of it is still a bit of technical, working on a software asset management platform that I know inside out. So doing a bit of techie stuff as well. So that's what I do.
Nice. Okay. So technical, I hear technical and I'm hearing the IT. So you're working with an IT domain, you're doing some technical work, but I'm hearing so many business analyst things, right? So tell me how you got to the blueprint and what brought you to that program.
That's a great question. I can, yeah, that's easy to answer. I was in this technical business analyst role going, I don't know, actually, I don't think I know what I'm doing here. And then it was quite scary because, yeah, I was actually getting, I'd asked for a salary and they gave it to me. And oh my God, I feel like such an imposter.
Wow.
I've got massive imposter syndrome. I knew, I didn't know that I knew what I was doing. I think that's what made me want to come to the blueprint. And I actually did the self-study one first. I think it was called the BA Essentials. I did a self-study one, which was helpful, but it also showed me all the things I actually wasn't comfortable with and didn't know about. So I actually wanted a live interactive course where I could talk to people, get feedback and get something practical. I needed something practical. I didn't want any more theory. I'd done some theory business analysis courses in the past. I needed hands-on, like, what do you do? What do you do? How do you do these things? So that's what got me to the blueprint. I think it was I didn't just launch into this, program on a whim. It was, okay, I've seen some articles, I've done this self-study. Okay, I'm starting to understand over a few months of, yeah, these are the gaps in my knowledge. This is where I need more experience. Okay, this blueprint's gonna fill those gaps. So signed up.
Nice. Okay. So we're there and you were motivated to do the program. And so was the ACBA certification kind of the cherry on the top for what you were looking for? Was that just kind of the extra thing since you knew that you wanted to do this practical application?
It was, yeah, if it wasn't part of it, would I have still done it? Yeah, maybe. But it was the clincher. I think having the certification is nice. It's nice because I can show other people, even if they don't understand what it is I've got something. So yeah, it was probably the clincher. It wasn't the only thing. It was, I needed the practical experience and information and feedback. I needed that, but having the certification that says, yeah, you've got this, that was nice.
Nice. I saw some celebrations out on LinkedIn for you. So definitely it worked and served for that. So congratulations there. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience in the program. I hear you mentioned earlier about what you were doing before you started the program, and I hear all these BA things. And then I heard you say, I wanted to know what I didn't know, or that I saw some things and I learned that these are things I needed to know. I was already doing some of them. I wanted to hone that skill. So I want to look at that and let's talk about that a little bit, about some of your experience there. Was there a particular module that really stood out for you or something that really, something you honed in on?
I'll tell you the one that I'm using the most since is the first one on process flow diagrams. I seem to be doing the process flow diagram every day at the moment, and that I don't know why I've gravitated towards that. It's something I'd done before, but I didn't feel very good at it. I didn't really I didn't really own it. I could do them, but I didn't know whether they were right or whether what people needed. But now I seem to be knocking out process flow diagrams easily, and they are well received. So that's probably the one that I've gravitated to most since doing it. It's not the one I thought I would. I thought I'd be most interested in data, the data modeling. Not really used that yet. But yeah, it's been process flows.
Sweet, process flows. So what's different about it now? So you were doing this before, and now you really started exploding with it, right? So what's different about before and now that makes you lean towards that business process?
I think it's because I know that I know what I'm doing, whereas I didn't it's a weird, this is maybe just my confidence levels. They're now much higher. But before, when I was doing the process flow, I had this weird idea that everybody else knew how to do that. and I was pretending. And they don't, and they actually they didn't. They really didn't. And I think I was just a bit scared of doing something and having it. Oh, I don't know. This is just, as I say, it's probably just my confidence. I was scared of doing something and having somebody else say, "Oh, well, that's rubbish." And yeah, I don't know, just confidence, just simply confidence in that area. That's all. And now I know what I'm doing. And I can tweak. I think this is maybe the difference. Now I know like the ins and outs of it. I can tweak it and change it and know that it's still useful. Whereas before the course, I didn't know what I could easily change. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, it makes perfect sense. I'm hearing confidence. I'm hearing my confidence level changed. I could do it. I wasn't sure I was doing the right thing. And now I know that I'm doing the right thing. And I know that making changes to it, going back, there's going to be iterations. It's okay. That is something that's normal. And it's funny because I think I had kind of the same experience, right? I would do this and I could make a diagram. Okay, everybody can make a diagram, right? And I think I know what I'm doing. But once you get in there and you start to apply and you go back and forth through the program and you recognize those nuances, right? There are iterations and that's expected, and you're not going to get it right the first time. And how to have that dialogue, right? We walk through in business process analysis, the discovery, and we had that meeting agenda, right? And we talk with folks and we help them to map out their process, right? And help them to own their process. And the confidence for me changed drastically. So it makes perfect sense what you're saying. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you have that confidence and you're owning it, right?
Yeah, I'm owning that rather than having to own their process, which you can't. I mean, you can't do that. And it's nice to be able to, like I've been doing with my boss this last week. He's been wanting me to map out the whole project management process. And I can go into his head and pull out bits that I don't need to know, but I can extract them out of his head. And then we get this absolute mess of a brainstorm. There's lines and boxes everywhere. And then a couple of days later, I'm going, "So, is this what you do?" And he goes, "Yeah, that looks good."
Listen to you. I'm hearing you talk about techniques and brainstorming and pulling those things out, right? That's awesome. It sounds like you are definitely using some of the skills that are taught and that you're feeling very confident about that. Did you face any challenges in the program? Was there anything that you just kind of hit a wall?
Well, I don't think there was. I really enjoyed the course. The timelines, sometimes I think this happened, there's 4 modules. I think every single module, there's I think this is a 2 or 3 module lessons, and then you get a week or 2 weeks to hand in the coursework. And pretty much every time I'm getting to like a week out from, you got to hand this coursework in. I'm going, "Oh my God, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I'm never going to do it. I'm going to fail." and then it's like a few days later, oh yeah, I've got this. Yeah, and I turned something in. And I think it happened every time, actually. And I think by the 4th time it happened, I was just going, "Oh yeah, this is just what I do. It's all good." So yeah, that the pressure, the time pressure was one thing. The content, I didn't struggle with the content. I really enjoyed the content. There was a couple of times, maybe in that final module, the BA Essentials one, where I didn't quite relate it to what was going on in my workplace. I can't think of any examples at the top of my head, but just sometimes there was, sometimes in the coursework and in all of the modules, it was like, yeah, I'm doing this, but what I do in reality is just a little bit different, but that's okay. I just need to, I need to do the coursework. Sometimes reality and coursework were a little bit, only a little bit out, but not a huge amount out.
Awesome. And you know, that's one thing about business analysis, right? Not everybody's going to do it the same. And even if they're working on the same thing, they will do it differently. And each time it might be done differently. And that's okay. That's one of the takeaways from the course. It sounds like you worked towards managing your time well and got through each module and figured out how to manage your time. And you got in sort of a cadence about getting your workbooks completed. That's good stuff. I had a chance to work with you there and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, you did. Your feedback was awesome, by the way. I've said this a few times. I'm going to say it again. Your feedback was awesome. It was so useful for the coursework, but it was useful for my BA career. It's probably the best thing about the course because of that interaction with instructors like you. Having that feedback, it was probably the absolute gold of the course.
Awesome. Okay, so you just answered my next question. I was going to ask, what was your biggest takeaway from the experience?
That was easy. That was the biggest
Glad to
takeaway.
hear the instructor feedback, the way it's sewn into the entire course and the practical application is phenomenal. And having that opportunity to talk with the participants via instructor hours, the webinars, and then being able to get back through the coursework and have those conversations, and then through the email, there's a lot of support that's built into the program. And it's nice to hear that was a big takeaway for you.
That's good. Actually, can I just rewind back to one of your previous questions about what did I find difficult in the course? It was, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the way I think the course, this is my interpretation of how the module unfolds. You don't get all the information and you're meant to put things together without all the information. And then your next lesson, you get more information. I wasn't good at that. And I think in my BA career, that's the biggest lesson I need to learn personally. I don't feel comfortable with gaps in my knowledge. This is why I waited till about a week before the coursework was due, because I'm going, I need to wait for lesson 3 until I've got all the bigger picture, and then I can put a workbook together. And that's probably what I did. And it might not be the best way of doing it, but that's what I did. And I think it was actually a valuable teaching. I think it was an intentional teaching tool to say, hey, you can still do BA work without knowing all the information. And that's something I personally struggle with. I am techie at heart. I kind of like to know stuff before I do something. Yeah, so that was my biggest struggle, I think, with the program and in my career. And I'm getting better at it.
Good point. So what you're referencing is that the content that comes to you comes in what we call a drip, right? So you might get your module 1 materials and you'll get part 1 the first week, and you'll get part 2 the next week, and part 3 the following week. And that's to keep folks from being overwhelmed, right? That's to help you to stay focused on this little piece at a time. But I am also in my major domain is IT, and I like to have the whole picture. But as a business analyst, you know what? You don't get it right off anyway. Oftentimes you're just kind of dropped in the middle of things and go figure it out, right? And you only get a little bit at a time. So that is also kind of a teachable moment, as you mentioned, that you'll get these parts of things and you get just enough, and you work on what you've got, and you get your questions together, right? You start building your questions for the next piece, and then you get that next bit of information. You're like, okay, and you can sew those things together, and now you're ready to build your next piece. You've got more questions, and then you sound like you were hungry for that last bit. And okay, now I got all parts of it. I can bang out this workbook and submit this workbook in. And I feel that way in projects all the time. And I am that techie though. I want it all. I want all the information. I want to flip through the whole book and get it all before I start working. Build in that time so it's not so overwhelming for everybody to get all the information at once.
I think, thank you. That's really well put. And for me, I think that's the tech in me, that I don't want to produce something where if there's a gap in my knowledge, what I've done is somehow not right, because when I get more information, it's going to make what I've done somehow wrong. And that's something that I've just got to learn more, to just go more with the flow of things, because there isn't a black and white, right or wrong. This is business analysis. Things morph and change and evolve, and that's great. Actually, it's good and it's okay. And that's just my little fear. Oh, if I do this and it's wrong, what's going to happen?
That whole perfectionist, right?
Bad, isn't it?
That all the time, right? And that's what helps to make us feel like imposters. But it sounds like you've gotten over a lot of
I'm aware of it. I'm aware. I wouldn't say I'm over it yet, but I'm certainly aware. I've got awareness on this.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the program did give you that confidence and help you to feel like you're ready and that you can apply what you know and you're comfortable with going to say, okay, there are some gaps here. We need to fill these gaps. And that you feel confident in your question asking so that you can say, okay, here's what I need to know. Here's where the gaps are. I've identified them. There are things that we need to talk about. Let's fill these gaps. Let's redo this diagram, right? Let's redo this process flow and make sure that we've included everything. So I think that's a major win for you. And I'm so glad to hear that you've kind of put that together and that you're using that. So let's, I don't want to hold you much longer. I do want to kind of talk about where you are professionally since you started the program, or since you finished the program, right? I hear that sounds like you're super lucky and you've gone from position to position just because of your skill set. So where are things and what's next for Alison?
Thanks. Well, the course finished at the end of June and my contract was up at the end of June. And I think mostly because of doing this course, my contract has been extended for 12 months. And if anyone's in the contracting world, a 12-month contract is gold. It's lovely. So that's where I'm on currently. I'm in the same job as I've been in for the last year, and with a security of a 12-month contract. So that's where I am. And I keep looking for, I'm just looking to see what else is out there, but nothing. I don't know. I really enjoy where I am. So that's me. So I'm staying where I am, but with more confidence. And I think this is probably what's different. I'm kind of owning the BA because there's nobody else who's officially a BA in my organization. It's not a big organization at all. There's not that many other people doing that work. And sometimes I wonder if there's actually a gap in the organization because there hasn't been any BAs officially there. And sometimes I think there's not really a gap for that work. Like it gets kind of done-ish by other people, by project managers, or just I don't know, it doesn't really get done. But now there's a bit more space for that, for business analysis work to be recognized, which is nice. So that's where I am.
All right, that's awesome. Hey, maybe they'll bring on some more and you'll be training those folks.
Yeah.
Right? It's great to hear that you are growing and you're flourishing and what you're doing, that you're feeling confident. Super duper takeaways from your opportunity or what you created as opportunity. Congratulations on your additional 12 months. That's exciting. Maybe the next 12 months will fall right there for you. That will be great to hear. Please do let us know if that happens. I do have one final question for you, and that's anything you'd have to say to anyone who might want to follow in your footsteps. What would you say to them?
If they were thinking of taking on the blueprint course, I would say absolutely do it. I think even if you are a seasoned business analyst, do it anyway, because then there's so many extra things you'd learn, and also you would know that you know it. That was the biggest takeaway for me, was knowing that I know it. So yeah, look, just do it, really. I don't think there's much of a reason not to. I think I've done quite a few training courses over the years, some technical, some professional, some personal, and I tell you, this has been the most useful, really has. So yeah, if anyone's questioning you, just do it, really.
Do you think that's from the practical application? I know you mentioned earlier, and I meant to ask you about this with the theory versus the practical application. Any comments that you'd like to leave for anybody about the difference between the two and how it has impacted you?
Yeah, it's the practical thing that makes it so valuable. The theory, you can read books. I mean, there's books on business analysis. You can easily learn the theory, but it's the practical that makes this course so valuable. It's the and making it, because I each of the modules I related to my job, which meant my job got the value immediately of the learning, you know. So it's practical, it's useful, it's instantly useful. That's the biggest element of the course that makes it so powerful, is the practical.
Sweet. That's an amazing compliment to Bridging the Gap. I can't wait to share that with the team. And I can't wait for folks to be able to see this. I thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful having you as a participant and then being able to follow up this way. And I do look forward to hearing an additional 12 months or something new that you set out to do and how you conquer that. Thank you so much for being with us today. Okay.
Thanks, Andrea. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks.